The Nigerian equities market has sustained the bullish run with banking stocks driving investor sentiment. Muktar Mohammed, an analyst at Assar Investments, joins me now to discuss market sentiment at this moment. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. And like I said earlier, it's good to hear you say hello from the other side. Now, we are seeing price appreciation in Nigeria breweries, Dangote Sugar, and MTN Nigeria. Investors are having their decisions formed based on the half-year earnings, which we've had quite a flurry of at this point in time. What do you think is driving the uptick we're seeing here after the initial volatility in the market, and how long do you think we might be able to stabilize or sustain this rally, really?
Yeah, David, thank you for having me from this other side. I think the good thing about this is because of this volatility. I mean, this market price movement is driven by local investors. So will it be sustained? I think it will be sustained as long as we continue to have the local investors still have higher stake in the market for now, because the foreign investors hasn't come in yet because of the volatility of the exchange rate. Okay, outside of that, again, the three stocks you just mentioned, Nigerian Brewery, Dangote, you realize that, and MTA realized that some at the beginning of the week, when they had those results that came out because of their FX losses, those brought down the price of those stocks. And now, so investors are beginning to see value in those stocks. That's why we always talk about value investment. They look at the fundamental going forward. Nigerian Brewery just came up with an increment in price of their goods. MTN result was good, and it was not comparable because the FX was not comparable to last quarter, but again, they were still able to pay their normal dividend. So investors are beginning to look at that as a positive going forward in the medium and long terms. And that's why you're seeing that. Same with Dangote Cement. Don't forget the expansion drive. If you look at that result, the result was largely driven by their offshore companies that are not in Nigeria. So definitely, investors are looking at those spaces and looking at the fundamental. Like I keep saying, the fundamental of the market is still strong. The fundamental of the economy is still weak. But again, how long can the market continue to drive the economy? Is normally the economy that drives the market. So for now, the market is driving the economy with good earnings report despite the macroeconomic volatility.
And we're also seeing Dangote Sugar as well, the announcement of the proposed merger of its rights subsidiary and NASCON as well. How do you think this would also drive the performance of the Dangote Sugar stocks at this point in time and other competition?
I think what we are seeing in the Dangote space is all about looking at what happened when Boa Food came up, saying they were going to merge all their companies into Boa Food, and we saw that stock.
And Boa's revenue was quite impressive as well, up about 90%.
Yeah, you're looking at, like I was saying, investors are looking at, there must be a precedent that you used to move the market. So investors are looking at that precedent that was set by Boa Food. We saw it move from a low of about 27 naira to a high about 93 naira. Now, what we see in Dangote, we see a major of Dangote Cement, major of Dangote Salt, Dangote Food, and all Dangote industries coming together. And when you look at those profits, that's why you see the numbers you're seeing. They are very huge. And remember, they are playing a sector that is largely driven by consumer funding. And no matter how you see, the consumer funding now as it stands in Nigeria is low, but we expect that very soon there may be increment in minimum wage. And if that happens, the consumer sector is the first to benefit because Nigeria economy is a consumer-driven economy. And most of the household items are being manufactured by Dangote.
And talking about the sectorial performance and what we might likely see at play here, within the week we saw banking index up about 3.2%, insurance 2.48%, and consumer goods 2.24%. That was the uptick we saw here. But when we still continue to look at the fact that inflation still drives quite high, the Naira devaluation is still there, how much of a hit do you think the consumer goods segment will take before we now see that stability bounce back, that stronger rebound come back?
David, I expect stronger rebound to start. You've seen that with the Dangote Industrial coming up with their numbers. You can't take them away. They are under the consumer goods sector. Like I said, we expect the minimum wage to be raised any moment from now. They've already priced in their losses now in terms of FX. Going forward, we might not see the kind of losses they suffer in FX. You know why they suffered that losses? Because most of them also gained from the government 400 exchange rate, comparable to others manufacturing company that were not gaining. The smaller manufacturing company were not going for that. So by the time the government what I call flew the currency, they suffered that huge gap in terms of the official that they used to get with the current market-driven rate. So definitely now that they settle in and the rate is, though it's not stable, but we expect that stability may come in before the end of the year, and that's what investors are looking, and that could also drive their numbers. But especially, I think what will drive their numbers after the stability will be the consumer index confidence, especially in the area of buying of this consumable, especially if the government are able to go up with the minimum wage.
Yes, and looking at buying interest now, what are some of the stocks you think investors should be pitching their tent with? I see that smile on your face.
Well, David, I think investors should still look to the banking sector. We've seen those results comes out. Those results have been impressive. Fidelity, you will see the market respond positively. We saw Sterling Bank, positive response. We even saw First Bank, positive response. When you look at this, the currency floating, it extremely favors the banking sector more than any other sector. So we expect the banking sectors, especially the tier one banks, to come up with very impressive results.
Okay.
And most of them have already sent a note to the market that they've already approved interim dividend for their investors. So I think investors should not take their eyes off the financial sector, especially the tier one banks. The consumer goods sector, as investors should still look at Dangote industry now. There's no more Dangote Sugar, Dangote Foods. Yeah. It's a Dangote industry. They should look at that space because of the merger that would drive up price of that good. And also not to forget MTN is still there. Despite those numbers are still good going forward in future. But again, when you're looking at Nigerian brewery, also not forgetting that sector has been driven by the high price of their goods. And remember, we are entering the season of celebration.
The months. Yes. Muktar, thank you so much for your time on the show today. That is Muktar Mohammed, analyst at Assar Investments.